Hello everyone, I am Himanshi from DNA Education and today we will discuss the next topic of life processes, that is transportation. So let us study transportation in human beings first. As we know that substances are produced at particular cells, but the entire body needs those substances. So it is very important that the substances are transported from one place to the other. This takes place through various components of the circulatory system in human beings. First is the blood. As we know that blood flows throughout the body in defined blood vessels. So let us first understand what blood is. It is often called as fluid connective tissue. It consists of these following parts. The first part is the plasma. Plasma is the fluid part of the blood. The fluid that we see flowing into the blood vessels is mainly composed of plasma. Plasma contains about 90% of water and some dissolved proteins. These can be albumins and other types of proteins which are found dissolved in plasma. Apart from these, plasma also contains some blood cells, namely red blood cells and the white blood cells. As the name suggests, red blood cells are red in color. The shape of the red blood cells is biconcave and spherical. It is circular when seen from the top and it has a biconcave shape when seen from the side. This means that it has a disc shape which is flattened or depressed from the top and the bottom. Also, red blood cells do not contain any nucleus. They contain a red colored pigment called hemoglobin. This hemoglobin has a very strong affinity for both oxygen as well as carbon dioxide. So whatever oxygen or carbon dioxide that we respire combines with the hemoglobin in the blood and travels across the body through these red blood cells. Now the white blood cells. The white blood cells are colorless and they can be of different shapes. The main function of white blood cells in the body is protection against germs and infections, that is immunity. So white blood cells provide immunity to our body. Now coming to the last component of the blood, which is platelets. Platelets, as some of you might know, that these are small fragments of cells and they get activated and form blood clots. Whenever there is an injury or a cut, the blood flows from the body and there is a need to stop that blood to avoid wastage of blood. This function is done by blood platelets. The blood platelets forms a clot at the injury point and the blood stops flowing. This is all about blood. Now let us discuss about the vessels through which blood flows. There are two main vessels which are found in the body. These are arteries and veins. The arteries and veins, they carry blood across the body. Now let us understand what arteries and veins are. Arteries are the blood vessels which carry oxygenated blood. These arteries, they usually carry blood from the heart and distribute it to the several body parts. On the other hand, veins are those blood vessels which collect blood from different cells of the body and then take it to the heart for purification. So that's why veins carry impure or deoxygenated blood while arteries carry oxygenated or pure blood. There are various other differences between these two. First is arteries are quite thick while veins are thin. This has a reason. Arteries carry blood from the heart to different body parts, and as the heart pushes the blood with a very high pressure through arteries, it is required that the walls of the arteries are thick so that it can cope with that pressure. Arteries do not have any valves, whereas veins have various valves in it which prevents the backflow of the blood and ensures that blood flows only in one direction. Arteries are usually deeply seated in our skin. They cannot be easily seen from above the skin, whereas veins are superficial, that is, they lie above the skin and we can see fine blue colored lines sometimes on the skin, which shows that veins are superficial, that is, close to the skin. One exception is pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery is the only artery that carry impure blood. It carries impure blood from the heart to the lungs. And similarly, pulmonary vein is the only vein that carries pure blood from the lungs to the heart. So these are the exceptions. Otherwise all arteries carry pure blood and all veins carry impure blood. Now coming to the structure of the heart. The circulation of blood in the blood vessels transports the blood to the heart. Heart, as we know, it is of the size of our fist and is located in our chest cavity, and it is slightly tilted towards the left. Now there are 4 chambers in our heart. The upper 2 chambers are called atria. Singular term is atrium. This is the right atrium and this is the left atrium. Again, I would highlight this point that in biology, this side is considered the right side and this is the left side. Now, the lower 2 chambers are called the right ventricle and the left ventricle. As you can see that all the 4 chambers are separated by muscular valves so that the blood in any of the chambers does not mix. Now, this is the inferior vena cava and this is the superior vena cava. Vena cava is a large vein which collects blood from all the veins and drain it into the right atrium. The blood from right atrium is deoxygenated as it is coming from the body tissues. It goes into the right ventricle through these valves and then the right ventricle pushes the blood after contraction through the pulmonary artery into the lungs. So blood enters the right atrium, then right ventricle, and through the right ventricle it goes to the lungs through pulmonary artery. In the lungs, purification of blood occurs with the exchange of carbon dioxide and oxygen, as we have discussed in the session of respiration. After purification, the blood through the lungs enters through pulmonary vein into the left atrium, then goes into the left ventricle and then through aorta. Aorta is the largest artery. Aorta is the largest artery of the human body. Through aorta, the blood gets distributed into several arteries and then transported to various body parts. Now, after reaching the body tissues, both arteries and veins, they divide and subdivide into finer and finer tubes called capillaries. The actual exchange of materials between cells and blood occurs through these capillaries. So basically, capillaries can be considered as a third category of blood vessels. So we can say that we have arteries, veins and capillaries. Now, let us consider about the concept of double circulation in humans. This is a simple diagram depicting double circulation in humans. We say that there is double circulation in humans, which means that a same set of blood passes the human heart twice in one cycle of oxygenation. Let us see how this happens. The deoxygenated blood from the body tissues is collected by veins and it reaches the heart. The heart sends this deoxygenated blood to the lungs for purification. In the lungs, the blood gets purified and then comes back to the heart. So you see that in the heart, the blood is coming twice, once from here and then once from here. Hence, it is called double circulation. Now, heart pumps this purified blood into the body tissues through arteries. So this depicts how double circulation happens in humans. Now, there is a significance of this double circulation in humans because this double circulation ensures that the deoxygenated blood and the oxygenated blood do not mix with each other. If this happens, then the efficiency of the body will decrease because the amount of oxygen dissolved in the blood will decrease and we will not get enough energy for doing our works. This is the case which happens in lower organisms like fishes and amphibians. They have only 2 or 3 chambered hearts. In the 2 chambered hearts of fish, only deoxygenated blood is passed, whereas in the 3 chambered heart of amphibians, mixed blood is pumped, and hence the efficiency of that circulatory system is a little less than us. Now, coming on to the concept of blood pressure. We all know that the muscles of heart contract and relax, and this contraction and relaxation can be seen in terms of systole and diastole. Systole means contraction and diastole means relaxation. Usually when we visit a doctor for a blood pressure test, then they wound a wrap around our arm and pressure is increased on our arm such that the blood flowing through the vein, suppose this is a blood vessel and blood is flowing through it, this is compressed to such content that a constriction appears in the blood vessel and the blood flowing in this vessel stops. Now when the pressure is slowly released, the blood will start flowing into this vessel, and when the first drop of blood starts flowing in the vessel, this is called systolic pressure. So the pressure at which the first blood drop is passed through the constriction is called the systole, and when the pressure is fully released and the blood is flowing full-fledged in the vessel, then it is called as diastole. So basically the systolic pressure is of a normal human body is 120 mmHg and the diastolic pressure is 80 mmHg. So in general, the blood pressure of a normal human being is represented as 120 by 80 mmHg, in which 120 represents systolic pressure and 80 represents diastolic pressure. mmHg is the unit of pressure, where Hg represents mercury, because the instrument that is used to measure blood pressure contains mercury, which raises and lowers its level to indicate the blood pressure. Now this is all about the circulatory system in humans. However, circulation also occurs in plants. In plants, water and food particles need to be transported to all body parts. For example, roots absorb water, but it is required by the leaves. So plant needs to transport water through roots to the leaves. Similarly, leaves produce food and they need to supply food to the rest parts of the body. This is done by vessels present in plants called xylem and phloem. These are the tissues. Xylem tissue transports water and minerals from roots to all parts of the plant. It contains of different types of cells. First is xylem parenchyma, which stores food. Then xylem fibers, which are dead cells that have supportive role. Then tracheids and vessels are hollow tubes through which water and minerals dissolved in water are all transported up to the leaves. Similarly, phloem are the tissues which transports food substances from leaves to all body parts. It also contains phloem parenchyma, which stores food. Sieve tubes and companion cells, which are hollow fibers again for the transport of materials, and phloem fibers, which have supportive role. This is all about transportation in plants. However, we can see that in plants transpiration is also seen. During transpiration, the water from the leaves evaporates, creating a suction pull. This suction pull helps the roots to absorb more water through the soil and then transport it to the heights of the tall trees. In this way, transportation in organisms can be understood. For more details, you can log into www.dnaeducation.com. That's all for today's session. Thank you.